Hello, my name is Rachel Williams. I'm the 4-H program leader in Seneca County, New York, and I'm very excited to share with you the very first lesson from the Mindful Me curriculum. We've shared a couple lessons from this curriculum in the past on the Finger Lakes 4-H Learning Launchpad, and I'm really pleased to share this one with you today because it's Apple Month. So the one thing you will need before we get started is an apple. If you don't have an apple, you may be able to use some other snack like a grape or watermelon, raisins, something like that. Hopefully you have an apple on hand. If not, you can come back and watch this when you do. So we're going to start with just explaining a little bit about what today's lesson's about. So this is about mindful eating. And the activity we're going to do is this apple red? Mindful eating is all about getting to know your food better. What it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, and of course, what it tastes like. By practicing mindful eating, we slow down our food consumption. Notice what we're eating more and more and how it makes us feel. I'm going to read to you No Ordinary Apple, and while I'm reading it, you're going to have a chance to practice mindful eating. So the very first thing we are going to do is get your apple or your other snack item if you don't happen to have an apple. If we were together, I would hand out my bowl of apples and have everybody pick one and make sure they were all pre-washed. I have my apple for the activity and I've washed it. The trick about this is after you have your apple clean, you've picked out your apple and you have it clean and ready to go, is you have to wait. I know it's hard to wait, but there'll be a part of the book when I will actually let you know when it's time to eat the apple. No Ordinary Apple is a story about eating mindfully. It's a story by Sarah Marlowe, and the illustrations are by Philip Mascuso. It was an ordinary day full of ordinary things. After school, Elliot went to his neighbor Carmen's house. He always went there until his parents got home from work. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Elliot. How was school? It was okay. May I have a snack before I start my homework? Asked Elliot. Of course. Would you like an apple? An apple? Don't you have any candy? Elliot said. Sorry, I'm all out of candy, but try this apple. It's very special. What's so special about it? It looks pretty ordinary to me. Oh, this is no ordinary apple, said Carmen. It might surprise you. Will it give me superpowers? Well, I don't know. Would you like to find out? She asked. How? Said Elliot. Elliot has quite an imagination. Eat the apple. Don't eat the apple yet, everybody. Eat the apple like you have never tasted one before. Only then will you discover what makes it so special. But I've eaten about 1 million apples. How can I do that? Asked Elliot. First off, tell me this. What color is your apple? Let's take a look at our apples and see what color or colors our apples are. I'm going to check mine out. I hope you check yours out at home too. Elliot said, it's red, very quickly. It is? Look very closely at it. Elliot rolled the apple around in his hands. He noticed that some spots were pure red, like I have here. Some were green, and others were a little yellow and maybe a little bit of brown. Even have some brown here. There were even a few dull black speckles, and I'm not sure. Oh, there's a brown spot, and there's a little speckle at mine. There are so many different colors here. I guess it isn't just red. How about your apple? What colors are on your apple? A very good observation. And what does it feel like? Now we're going to take a time to feel our apple. Elliot looked puzzled. Feels like an apple, he said. Carmen laughed. Slowly feel it with your fingers. What do you notice? So let's check out our apples. We're going to feel our apples. It's a little cold. Some parts are smooth and others are bumpy. Some places are hard and some are a little soft. That's pretty neat. What did you notice about your apple when you touched it? I noticed one thing. I have almost like a indent in my apple right here. And then I also noticed this bumpy part at the bottom. And then, of course, how this top part feels, the stem. Feels kind of hard, and it flicks in my finger. Elliot was about to take a bite. Take a bite, yeah. When Carmen gently raised her hand to stop him, not yet. You haven't listened to it. Listen to the apple? How weird, Elliot thought. Feeling a little bit silly, he held it up to his ear, expecting to hear something. He heard nothing. Is that the only way to listen to your apple? Carmen asked. Elliot got an idea. He tossed the apple up in the air. As it landed in his hands, he heard a hollow thwop. Elliot smiled. He'd probably made that sound a million times before, but he'd never actually heard it. Let's see, what does our apple sound like? I could go like this. Listen to what it sounds like. I could roll it in my hands. Listen to what it sounds like. I could do what Elliot did. What does your apple sound like? What do you notice? Now, do I take a bite? He asked, growing a bit impatient. I think you understand how he feels. Not quite yet. What does it smell like? Elliot took a sniff. Fruity, I guess. And a little like flowers and springtime. After another moment, he laughed. It also feels cool and smooth against my nose. And Carmen smiled. What does your apple smell like? I feel like my apple smells juicy. I almost feel like I can smell the juiciness inside of it. Makes me want to bite right into it. I'm sure you know what I mean. Can I take a bite now? Elliot could feel his tummy rumbling. Sure, said Carmen. But I wonder what else you might discover if you bite it very, very slowly. Elliot really wanted to figure out the secret of the apple, so he decided he'd try it. And as he held it up to his lips, he noted his mouth was already watering. And he was pretty sure this had never happened with an apple before. As his teeth sunk in, he heard a loud, crisp crunch. Let's take a taste of our apple slowly, just like Elliot did, and notice all of the things that you experience when you eat your apple slowly. I'm going to bite into the red part of my apple. What did you notice when you took a slow taste of your apple? One thing I noticed is as soon as my teeth started to bite into the apple, I could feel that juiciness I described smelling start to come out of the apple and onto my teeth. I thought that's pretty cool. I'm not sure I've noticed that before. Elliot noticed the sweet, appley juiciness in his mouth and the little juice drops tickling his chin. The peel felt a bit stringy and the flesh felt cool and a little spongy. Then came a burst of the familiar, fresh, appley smell. Notice what the apple tastes like in different parts of your mouth. I didn't try that yet. We'll have to try that next. Now you can do this if you chew it very slowly and roll it around. Oh, and try not to swallow it just yet. Do you think you can do that? Asked Carmen. Let's try that next. Let's take another bite of our apple, slowly again, and move the apple around in our mouth and see how that feels to have it in different parts of our mouth. And if you didn't notice the other sounds and smells of your apple while you were eating it, check it out this time. Let's try it again. I'm going to try the more yellowish green part of my apple this time. I'm just curious if it'll be different. What did you notice while you ate your apple slowly and felt it in different parts of your mouth? One thing I noticed, which I noticed a little bit before, but this time I noticed even more, is that the peel of my apple was really strong. It took a bit for me to chew into that part of the apple. And I did feel like flavor bursts almost in the different parts of my mouth. Not so much when I moved the apple around with my tongue, but when I moved it and chewed it, that's when I noticed those flavor bursts. I'm curious what you noticed. Elliot nodded. First he chewed with his front teeth. Oh, that's a smart idea. And then with the teeth on one side, and then the other. So I did that for sure. Next, he rolled the chewed up apple around his mouth. I kind of did that a little bit before I chewed it and after. He even tried smushing the apple against the top of his mouth. It's interesting. He tried doing that with his tongue. He tasted it on the back of his tongue, The center, the front, one side, and the other side. Oh, that's interesting, seeing how it tastes on all parts of your tongue. That's worth trying. Let's try that. I wonder what you noticed if you tried some of those techniques that Elliot did where he pushed the apple up to the top of his mouth with his tongue and then tasted it on all the different parts of his tongue. I noticed something for sure. I noticed that I tasted the apple a lot in the front of my tongue, and then the taste went away a little bit in the center of my tongue. I wonder what you noticed. He really wanted to swallow the whole time, but was determined not to. Good job, Elliot. He was going to discover that secret. Are you ready to swallow now? Yes, please, Elliot said. So we have tasted and tried a couple times and swallowed because I have to keep reading the book. But Elliot had not yet. So with his apple-filled mouth, Carmen said, go ahead and see what you feel as the apple travels to your belly. It may help if you close your eyes. Oh, we should totally try that. Let's try that with another bite. So we are going to take a bite of our apple, move it around, slowly notice all the things we noticed like earlier, and then slowly swallow it and notice what it feels like going to our belly. Go. I'm going to close my eyes now. What did you notice after you had a chance to slowly eat the apple and notice all of those things? What did you notice when you swallowed your apple? One thing I just noticed that I had a little bit of apple still caught behind one of my teeth. So I'd use my tongue to move it back. I wonder what you noticed. Elliot closed his eyes and he concentrated, just like we just did, as he swallowed. He could feel the moistness of the apple as it went down his throat. His belly had stopped rumbling and even felt a little more full. What did you notice? Asked Carmen. You know, the apple did taste different at the front of my mouth than at the back, Elliot said. In one part, it was sweet. In another, it was kind of tart, like two fruits in one. What an interesting observation Elliot had. Even after all this time, Elliot still wasn't sure what made this particular apple so special. Yes, it was more colorful, more tasty, more fragrant, that means it smelled really, really good, and more noisy than any apple that he had ever eaten in his whole life. In fact, it was the most appley apple ever. But why? What's the secret? Elliot asked. Why is this apple so super appley? What did you do to make it that way? Ah, said Carmen. It's not what I did that made it so special. It's what you did. That's how I'm feeling after I ate my apple. Not quite done yet, but while I was eating slowly, while I was feeling how it felt in my mouth, while I was smelling it, while I was touching it, while I was listening to it, I definitely noticed so much more about my apple, and it really was the most appley apple I've ever had. How about you? Elliot looks so proud. What I did? By slowing down when eating his apple and being curious about how it looks, feels, sounds, smells, and tastes, you made it extraordinary. And you know what? You can do this with any food. Pretty cool, huh? You can do this with any food. I love it. Elliot thought about this for a moment. His eyes sparkled. Jelly beans? Sure. Ice cream? Absolutely. I've definitely done this with ice cream. Even macaroni and cheese? Elliot couldn't imagine macaroni and cheese being any better than it already is. Yes, even macaroni and cheese. Wow! That is really exciting. You can do this with any food. You know, Elliot, you can try this with foods that aren't your favorite too. That's interesting. Really? I don't know. Broccoli's pretty gross. And peas, I don't think I could ever eat peas so slowly. Well, it's worth a try. Maybe start with just one little pea. And you might be amazed at what you discover, just like with the apple. Elliot thought for a moment, and then he slowly and mindfully ate the rest of the apple. He thought about all the foods he could eat this way. He couldn't wait to show his family and friends. Suddenly, a huge smile washed over his face, and he remembered that today was Friday. And that meant, do you know what that meant on Friday? Friday is pizza night. So he is thinking about how he can mindfully eat his pizza and just enjoy it that much more. And maybe it'll be the pizza-y pizza that he's ever eaten. Pretty cool book, huh? So what did you notice about the apple when you ate it? Did it taste different from other apples you had before? Let's try again. I noticed that this apple wasn't as crunchy as an apple I ate yesterday. I ate a Golden Delicious apple yesterday. It's one of my favorites. I ate it for the Big Apple Crunch. So this apple is a little more spongy, but it's really sweet at the same time. So how can you make other foods taste special? Could you do some of these things that we did with our apple today? Just slow down. Spend some time with your food before you actually bite into it. Spend time feeling it, smelling it, listening to it. Maybe you could. How can your friends and family help you be healthy? How can you help your friends and family be healthy? Maybe one thing you could do is do just what Carmen suggested in the book and try this with foods that maybe you don't like as much. Spending some more time with them might help you enjoy them more. Kind of like what happened with our apple. I would definitely recommend trying mindful eating with other fruits and vegetables. It's really very fun. And they have such interesting looks about them, colors, shapes. They have interesting sounds to them. And they definitely have interesting taste to them. So good luck. I hope you enjoy mindful eating in the future and take time to finish your apple. Have a great day.